G'day guys, in today's video we're going to be showing you how to do a transfer case oil change on the 80 series. Now this transfer case is common to all 80 series models, including the petrol and diesels. You might notice a bit of change of scenery in the garage today, and we'll run you through that in a bit more detail later in the video. Let's jump right in. We'll just quickly run through all the tools and parts that we're going to need to do the job. As always, there'll be a full list along with timestamps if you'd like to jump forward down in the description below. You'll need a drain pan with a minimum capacity of 2 litres and then some form of pump for pumping the oil up into the transfer case. As far as the oil itself, you'll need either 1.3 litres without ABS or 1.7 litres with ABS of a 75W90 API GL4 or GL5. We've gone for Penrite Pro Gear in this case. Next, you're going to need new gaskets for the fill and drain plugs. There's the part number from Toyota. You'll need a socket set with 12 and 24mm sockets and a torque wrench that's accurate in the range of 14 to 22 foot-pounds. We've got a flathead screwdriver and some nitrile gloves and safety glasses, and lastly some brake and parts cleaner and some paper towel for cleaning up any mess. We're down at Omega Works today, which is a new self-service garage that's just opened up in Wangara, north of Perth. They're a family-owned business and it's an awesome atmosphere if you want somewhere to come and work on your car. They've got hoists to suit any vehicle and all sorts of specialist tools and equipment, including tyre fitting and balancing machines, parts washers, hydraulic presses, transmission jacks. They've got sandblasting equipment, just about anything you could think of to work on your car, and they can even help you out with sourcing parts and 4x4 accessories like bull bars or suspension. So it's worth checking them out today on Facebook or Instagram. As always, before you get underneath the car, make sure you chock your wheels. So we're going to start by removing this bash plate underneath the transfer case. You need a 12mm socket, and we're just going to remove these 3 bolts here. So you can put those 3 bolts and the bash plate off to the side, and we'll put those back on later. The transfer case, being located on the back end of the transmission, has its filler plug up here and the drain plug down the bottom. That's why we needed to remove that bash plate. You should always drain it after the car's been driven because that warm oil is going to flow out more easily. We're going to remove the filler plug first, and there's 2 reasons you do that. The first is that it's going to allow air to flow in through there and the oil to flow out more easily. And secondly, if you do remove the drain plug first and then you have issues trying to get the filler plug off, you won't be able to refill that oil later. So we'll grab the drain pan and pop that underneath, and then take your 24mm socket and we're going to crack that filler plug. And then you can remove that by hand, and you might get a little bit of oil leaking out here. You just want to make sure that the old gasket comes away with the plug. We're going to throw that out and replace it. Next up, we'll do the drain plug. So grab your 24mm socket again. You can see how nice and smoothly that's flowing out. If you don't remove that filler plug first, you'll get a glugging motion and you won't get the oil out as easily. It's a good opportunity to inspect the color of the oil and whether you've got any metal contamination in it. And additionally, if you have a look at the plug, you might find that you've got some metal filings stuck on there as well, which can give you an idea of how worn your transfer case is inside. Same as before, make sure you remove the old gasket from that plug. When it comes to disposing of your old oil, you can either put it into cans and take it to your local auto parts store, or if you come to somewhere like Omega Works, they'll dispose of it for you for a small fee. So once that's had a good chance to drain, we're just going to give it a quick wipe with some paper towel or a rag. And then you want to take your drain plug, which we've cleaned up with some paper towel, and your new gasket, and we're just going to thread that in by hand. We're going to grab the 24mm socket now on the torque wrench and tighten up that drain plug. Now you'll notice that the torque figures for these are relatively low, and that's because this is an aluminium housing. You want to be really careful not to over tighten these because you can crack it. This one's going to be tightened to 22 foot-pounds, which is 29 Newton meters. So if you haven't got one of these, we'd highly recommend it. These Tom Thumb hand pumps, they make it really easy to get the oil in a nice controlled fashion. So we're going to take our oil and put it in there. Then you can just hook that in through the filler hole and start pumping. Now we're going to fill this until oil starts to come out of the filler hole, which for a car with ABS will take about 1.7 litres or 1.3 litres without ABS. Onto the second bottle now, same again. Once you get onto your second litre, you want to have your cleaned filler plug with your new gasket ready to go so you can pop it in as soon as that starts to dribble. There we go, it's just started to dribble out, so I'll get rid of this. Pop the filler plug in by hand. Then we'll just grab some paper towel and just wipe up the mess. Then we'll grab the 24mm socket on the torque wrench again. This one's going to be tightened to 14 foot-pounds, which is 19 Newton meters. Then lastly, we've just got to put our bash plate back on. So we'll grab those 3 bolts. Then we'll snug them up with the 12mm socket on the socket wrench. That's it for today. Massive thank you to the guys over at Megaworks for letting us borrow a hoist. It honestly makes it that much more comfortable than rolling around on the ground. If there's anything else you'd like to see in a future video, drop us a comment below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.